So welcome everybody to our Whoop UCI Mountain Bike World Series press conference right here in Val di Sole. Great to be back with everybody, and we're going to join our athletes right away. We have a few from downhill and a few from cross country, as we are covering both disciplines this weekend. First and foremost, we'd like to welcome Riley Amos from Trek Factory Racing Pirelli, Martina Berta from Santa Cruz RockShox Pro Team, Luca Schwarzbauer from Canyon Collective XCO, Finn Owls from Specialized Gravity, Tawny Seagrave from Canyon Collective FMD, and Marine Cabirou from Scott Downhill Factory. Thank you all, one and all, for being here today. Hope everybody stayed dry on their way over here. I'm going to start with our cross-country group and then move on to our downhillers. First and foremost, Riley, congratulations on your first selection to the USA Olympic team. Very warranted. I think with your performances of late that have been pretty stellar, it was a given over the last few months. In a nutshell, can you tell us how this journey unfolded? Because not a lot of people know that it's a pretty long process when it comes to an Olympic selection.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, I guess the journey started about 2 years ago. Kind of when the cycle first opened, I wasn't really thinking too much about it. And kind of last December was the first time we kind of realized maybe we do have a shot at getting 2 U.S. male spots for the Olympics. And for a long time, it was kind of Chris Blevins mostly in the spotlight for the U.S. And like last December, we kind of realized it could be pretty close by the time the cycle closed to earn 2 spots based on points. So we kind of all sat down at USA Cycling and did some math, did some planning, picked out as many races as we could that kind of we needed to do well at, and did a bit of some secret points chasing. I guess it started with some of the guys going last October to Greece after the World Cup season, and but really it's been this spring that everyone showed up from the U.S. side. So really stoked, obviously, on how well the season's gone, but also just like how we were able to come together as a nation, as for the males especially, and just really put our heart and soul into trying to bring both of us to the game. So huge shout out to Chris for like working with me on that, and for USA Cycling helping us out. But yeah, it's been a dream come true. Definitely, we knocked it out of the park this spring better than we could have. So
I wondered why so many people went to those races in Greece. I now found out. It's been a stellar year. I think it's the first time in a long time that we've had 2 American men lining up that are competitive for medals. The talent field is very deep in the U.S. team for Paris. Honest belief, a medal, is it possible? Is it in striking distance for you or Chris? And then after that, we'll talk about the ladies because they're not here.
Yeah, I think definitely a medal is possible. I mean, Chris showed on the right day he can be the best in the world already for sure. And I think I'm getting there. I think a great ride maybe is not quite medal potential for me yet, but I mean, this year it was just a goal to get to go. You get to experience it. Like the reward is getting to go race. It's not to go target a medal for me this year. I think LA 28 is my goal at this point, but for me it's the big trophy just to get to go. So for me, I'm going to soak it in and enjoy the moment, and maybe not so much target a medal this year. But yeah.
And for Haley and Sevilla, definitely a medal chance there.
I think both of them are going to be knocking on the door for sure. Yeah.
Back to World Cup racing. You've kind of been the healer of late on Trek Factory Racing Pirelli, as unfortunately the women's side have had their fair share of knocks over the last few weeks. Evie knocked out. Gwendolyn broke her collarbone. Yolanda, self-admittedly not feeling super well these days. So right now, a lot riding on your shoulders when it comes to the team.
I guess you could say that. I mean, yeah, everyone's had their ups and downs, or everyone does have their ups and downs, and I mean, I'm pretty lucky to be riding a pretty nice up right now for sure. But we got Evie back this week. Finally, her head's feeling a lot better. Gwendolyn's back in action. I mean, she broke her collarbone, but she's been putting in a lot of work at home, so hopefully she can show it as well this week. But yeah, it's definitely crazy to think about. Just 3 years ago, I was kind of the youngster that got a guest ride opportunity with the team to experience a couple World Cups, and just in 3 years kind of grown into a real team player, I guess you could say. And I mean, I love my teammates, and I've learned a lot from them, and like to think I get to also share and help out occasionally as well. So it's been a pretty impressive 3 years for me and the team, and I just feel like we've grown together, and I've learned so much, and yeah, definitely really happy and lucky to be where I am for sure.
I'm going to ask the next questions for Martina, Luca, and yourself. We have now this weekend Val di Sole. We go to Con Montana, which is a new venue for you guys this year. It will also be the World Championship pretty much venue for next year. After that, it's Léger, and then nothing to the Olympics. One after the other, what is going to be your downtime like between Léger and the Olympics? Any racing or just shutting things down and training?
Yeah, I think for me, I'll race U.S. Nationals. It's kind of the week before Olympics, so it's a big question mark. But yeah, just train for Olympics for the most part.
Luca?
First of all, hello everybody, and thanks for having me. Yes, particular to this point, we will also have the German champs. We had big floods last weekend. It was supposed to be last weekend, the German champs. But yeah, in this case, I guess I'm gonna skip it, but not sure. I will see. Maybe I can use it a little bit as a joker in case it will not happen, but in case I have a bad result this week, next week, or in Léger. But yeah, I think the program is filled enough.
And for you, Martina?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, for me it's just the World Cups, and then we will have the Italian national champion in the week before the Olympics. So that is, I still had to decide what to do. But yeah, the program is to focus on the Olympics and keep the training and do a little bit of altitude in between the World Cup. So yeah, this is the plan.
Because Italy separated the short track and the XCO championships this year. You've already had your short track championships. Okay, Luca, I come back to you. You won the short track here last year. Despite the changes that they've made on the course, they're not big changes, but they are still changes. Is it a course that you appreciate now that you've seen it and you've kind of analyzed it a little bit?
Yeah, last year it looked like I can perform more or less on each short track course. I thought something like last year's Leogang is nothing for me, but then I finished in second, so it was still good. And I think with the right tactic, the right legs, I can be strong here again, that's for sure. But yeah, first of all, I have to get my stuff together. But the characteristic, I think, should suit me quite okay, at least, yes.
13th at the test event in Elancourt last September. You admittedly said that it wasn't your best day, probably not the focus on that day. Is it a course that suits Luca Schwarzbauer? We know you like the rolling fast sections, some of the technical areas. Is it something that you could see yourself on the podium in July?
Yeah, a medal. I mean, this is the biggest goal athlete in our sport can have, probably. And yeah, to be realistic, I think if I say now I go for the medal, it's maybe a bit too much, but I think on the other hand it should be the goal, because if I say now I will go for top 10, I think then the motivation is not high enough to really give 100%. And on the other hand, I think when everything comes together, and that's what we have to hope for, I think the physical and mental abilities I have, but for sure there are some other riders who maybe can have a bigger hope for these spots. And the course itself, actually when I look on it, it should suit me pretty well. I think the average speed is quite high on this course, which
something
is
like 27, I think, with Victor last year. Was it 25, 27,
yeah,
I think, something like
it's
that?
definitely high. I don't know something about the real numbers, but just a feeling. This is very, very nice. But yeah, last year, it was just before the last two World Cups. I didn't really pay attention to that because I had to save the overall. But yeah, so it was not the super great experience last year, but I will go with a new set in my mind, or yeah, something like that, and like theoretically it should be pretty good.
A good day. Martina, I asked the same question to you. We've had, and we'll delve into this later with our downhill crew, because a lot of surprise podium winners this year. The season has started off. We're halfway through both disciplines. How do you approach the Olympics, if the Olympics to be for you, still waiting in Italy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Olympics are the goal for every rider, and as Luca say, you have to have the medal in your mind and to focus on that, to keep the motivation and to work on that. Then obviously are only 3 spots, so you have to be really in a good day and put all the pieces together and work for that. But I think there's still some 1.5 months to work on that and to really try to be the best version of yourself in that day. That is, I think, the most important, because then everything could happen in one race, one shot race. So this year I think we see a lot of different riders winning the World Cups or being on the podium. I think this is a good motivation for everybody, because it means that not everybody, but there's good possibility for all the riders.
Last year you finished second here on the World Cup. From there on, the season just kept on going and going and going. Was that a key moment for you? Was that really where something snapped inside and said, hey, I can really rival with some of these ladies on the World Cup?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it last year to be that strong. I mean, but I was working good, and I knew that a podium was possible in that season. But you never know in the day of the race, and everybody looks strong. But I think in that day I realized that I could stay in that position too. I think also this year there will be quite a lot of crowd and a lot of friends and people that I know really well. So it's a good motivation, and I'm really excited to race here in Italy.
And also, I wanted to ask you, this season's been a bit more difficult. Brazil was not your cup of tea, but we saw in Nove Mesto you were back to your ways. We could feel that you were a bit more comfortable in the pack. You battled your way back to the lead group. What happened in Brazil versus in Nove Mesto?
I mean, Brazil was a bit difficult, but I knew at the beginning of the year that I wanted to focus on the Olympics, and the preparation was made for that. So in Brazil was a difficult 2 races, but then after that races I stayed at home, and I enjoyed some time with my friends and family, and also I think with my mind I was back in the game, and in Nove Mesto was feeling a lot better physically and for sure mentally too.
And you won a bronze medal in the short track also at the Nationals, so that also was a very good one. We'll move over to our downhill crowd for a second. I will have a few more questions for you guys before we close this up. First and foremost, I want to go to Tani. Tani, the momentum this season is there. You're back to the woman we saw racing 2018, 2019, back at that level. A bit of a oops on the final race, but definitely not something that would faze you going into these final races of the season?
Thank you. No, I feel like it's the first off season I've had in like 5 years where I've been injury free. So I'm feeling really confident this year, and something like that won't faze me. I think it happens to everyone at least once in the season. So just put it behind me and focus on this one.
Well, that's a good question, a good statement, I should say. My next question was exactly that. Are you the type of rider, after a frustrating event like that will use that, turn it into positive energy or just fighting energy, or is it, I just turned the page? We'll look to Val di Sole this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty annoyed, but I'll just turn the page, and like every race for me is a new race. So yeah, I just forget about it and move on.
Well, you started this season, as I said, back to your old self. You seem to be confident again. We had a few discussions off mic last year, at the podiums and all that. You're still saying that you were still struggling to get that confidence. Stuff was still scaring the crap out of you. This year, we don't feel it all that much. And I was sharing with some of my co-collaborators about it. But we saw Myriam finish in Leogang the other day. She made it back to the podium. We saw you guys had a little talk at one time. How are the emotions running for you? Because you know exactly what Myriam went through and had to go through to get back to that.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for anyone to understand who hasn't been through something like that. Like, the fear that you have to overcome is so different to like when you break a bone. There's no real time frame, and you're not sure. Like, you doubt yourself a lot. So yeah, to see her do that was very emotional for both of us, I think, but obviously more so for her. But I could just really relate and sympathize with what she was going through.
Do you think the fact that because you were very, very on social media, in the media, you were very open about your recovery process, and you were really telling the story of how difficult it is to come back from what we could call a brain injury, basically. Do you think in any way that helped Myriam and other athletes that are going through something like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, me and Miriam are so close anyway, and we're really good friends, but I feel like she lent on me a lot during that time, as I did with her. But once she was going through what she was going through, she messaged me saying, "I'm so sorry that I never understood what you were going through, and now I fully understand, and no one could ever understand." It's just so scary, and I guess, it's just something that you feel so alone when you're going through it. But I shared it all on social media because I just guess before there wasn't much like on that topic, and no one really knew what to do, but I was just trying to share it so that younger people could, I don't know, get some time off, and their managers not, push them to race too early or something.
Yeah, and I think it was an eye-opener for a lot of teams and a lot of managers. Finn, talking about whirlwind mind-bender weekends last weekend in Leogang was one of those that is kind of off the rockers, off the books. Can you tell us a little bit how that one unfolded for you? Because a lot of people don't know exactly what you did if you're not following it to the T, but there was a real specific reason why you went through those different steps throughout the weekend.
Yeah, last week was really hard for me.
Hold it up, I think you're...
Is it... Oh, okay. Yeah, last week was really hard for me. I felt like probably one of the hardest race weekends I've had in a really long time, and to have a big crash on Friday and then wake up on Saturday and feel like I'm not ready to ride was really frustrating. And to go out and even just try and ride a little bit was really hard for me because my thumb, the rest of my body, my brain was just not in it. I was tired. I was lethargic. I could barely hold onto the bar. And to then come back on Sunday and be able to ride and to get back on the podium was pretty awesome. So I'm just really lucky to have the team around me that I do, to trust me to make those decisions for myself, and then to trust me to perform on Sunday when I have to.
And like for Tani, this was more of a short term. You have had head injuries, and you've banged your noggin a few times, pretty good too. To have that support and that team, to have I know Red Bull really accompanies you guys. That must be comforting to a certain extent when you're in such a state.
Yeah, definitely. I think that in downhill, there's a bit of like a stigma around injuries where if you crash, it's just like tough it out and act hard and just make it happen. And for some things like a thumb or a foot or whatever it is, maybe you can, but definitely when it comes to hitting your head, there's so many things that can go wrong, and following the right protocols and following the right sort of set of, not rules, but doing the right thing so that you take the time to be healthy is really important, and to have a team that supports that. And like Tane said, sort of her showing that to, all the things you have to go through is really important, because it makes everybody else more comfortable coming forward with that kind of injury,
And shows you the human side, not just the superhuman side of what a lot of people look up to you as. Marine, you had a different type of head injury. It was a neck and back injury. The support of your team, your support of seeing someone like Tani go through a long process, Myriam, was that something that kept you going in those dark moments?
Yeah, of course. I think everybody come back from an injury is a long process. Of course, if it's an injury, it's even longer, I think. But yeah, in my side, it was just at least a bone. But yeah, it was a long process too, because especially with the back, you don't really know if you can go back to training too early or stuff like this. You need to take time, but finally I'm okay. So yeah, it's good to share story between rider because that help to be back. And I think we can all see now everybody can be back from an injury, and that's a really good point.
This is one for all three of you. The way the season calendar was laid out this year, it wasn't making things easier for you guys also. We start with Fort William. We got to admit, Fort William is a banger of a course. It's a hard one. We go into Bielsko-Biała, an unknown. The track just keeps on changing. You get thrown into the Speedster last weekend, and now this weekend on the Black Snake. Has this alignment of the different top or tough events affected your way of preparing the season, or is it affecting your way of racing this season?
Not particularly. I don't know. I feel like, Fort William's a pretty hard one to start with, but I guess everyone was just trying to be as ready as possible for that. I didn't change anything up. I just knew I had to be strong and confident coming into the first round, and that's exactly how I felt, and I guess it's kind of just a snowball effect from there for me.
Marine?
Yeah, like Tane said, for William it's always a difficult track to start the season because it's a long one, really physical one, so it's always hard to be ready for this first one. But after, it's not particularly a big step. It's like different track.
Finn?
For me, I didn't change anything coming into the season. Building off what I had last year coming into Fort William, just being mentally prepared for everything, and then having a couple weeks off and getting rested, and then back into another training block before Poland, and then coming here. Because going from Leogang to here, 2 different tracks, and this one is probably one of the hardest physically, just because it's so demanding, and the hardest mentally. So I think that having this one as the second round on a back-to-back is really tough, but it's what we're prepared for, and should be all right.
Actually, you've always fared pretty well here, apart from maybe one of the years you've raced here. You became junior world champ here, second last year. What's the key to success on a track like this?
I don't really know. I think if I knew the key to success, I probably would have won one of these. But I think for me here is this track is really hard. It's really physical, and I feel like my preparation is super strong, and I feel like the way that I ride my bike kind of suits this track, as well as it's quite similar to a lot of the stuff that I ride at home with the roots and the rocks and how rough and physical it is. So I think that it's a good track for me, and I also really enjoy this because I like when it's harder and faster and everything else. So coming down on this track on race run, it's just kind of it's hard, but it's a lot of fun too. And I find that when I'm having fun, I thrive on my bike.
Tanya and Marine, if I'm not mistaken, you're sitting second and third in the overall standings behind Valley. Valley's been dominant. We can use that word. I think it's very honest to use that word. Is it feasible that you could catch someone like Valley with only a few rounds to go, or is this, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way in any way, saying the seasons, because anything can happen from round to round. Does this become a race for second, or are your sights still set on catching Valley?
I mean, we're still pretty early on in the season, so before the last race there was only 10 points between first and second and third, and I think me and Marine are really close now, so it would just take one race where Valley crashes and doesn't get any points, so you'd catch her up again. So I'm not in the race for second.
Marine?
Yes, for sure, we will fight till the end. I think we are really close with Tani now, but Valley have a bit more point, but we will do everything to fight for the overall for sure.
Women's racing this year, everybody is healthy. I've asked this question to Valley and other downhillers over the last few press conferences. The fact that you're healthy, Miriam's healthy, everybody's back almost at the top of their game. Is it making it even more interesting racing-wise for you people on the inside, not just for the spectators, but the way you approach racing, the way you prepare, the pressure and all that?
I don't know, it's not really something I think about when I'm racing because I'm so in my own head, but definitely when you come down and see the result sheets, and we're all super close, obviously apart from last weekend because so many people had issues, but Fort William was the tightest it's ever been. It was close to the top 5, or the top 3 were closer than the top 3 men, so that was exciting, and Poland was super close as well, so it's just really exciting racing for all of us, I think.
So it's fun to be in the mix and be part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Marine?
yeah, for sure. Every race, the women race is always tighter, and it's really crazy. We see the young woman coming, like Anna, who get second last week. It's pretty amazing, and I think we will all fight for the win in every races, and we are just want to fight for that. So we'll give everything.
Ask you the same question a bit. I asked Finn around. It was for Marine. Sorry, Finn. You have been one of the most consistent riders on the track here, Black Snake. You've been on every single podium, Marine, since 2019, right? Do you have a key to success on the Black Snake?
I think I don't have a special key to success here, but it's really a track I like, and it's technical step, and that's the kind of track I really like. So it's maybe for that I have always good results here.
Finn, you probably had the least practice runs you've ever had in your career last weekend. Is that going to be the new way of doing things maybe from now on?
Absolutely not. It was really stressful on race morning last week. I was guessing at some of my lines, and I only got 2 shots at some of the stuff in the lower woods, and that's where I lost a lot of my time to Loic. So I think that this week I'll do a normal amount of runs and get back into the regular flow of what I normally do at races. I'm pretty routine with how I go about things, and I think that this week will be no different to how I usually operate.
Okay, now it's time for that killer question. I like to ask this one at every press conference. We'll start with Riley. Apart from yourselves, who's going to win your race this weekend? And for you, it's a sticky one because you got 6 and 6. So if you had to pin the ribbon on a winner this weekend, that's not Riley.
Yeah, I think Luca Martin will be really strong. I think last year he was so close to winning it and had a mechanical last lap that was a bit of a heartbreaker. So I know he's going to be fired up to come take it from me this week.
Luca.
I think it's a super hard question to answer. It's so tight at the moment.
That's why I ask it.
But there's one guy who is always on the top. It's Nino. He won last year and on the long distance. And yeah, if I have to pick one, it's probably him. But it's the easiest answer, so it's not spectacular at all.
Doesn't need to be.
I will go for the easiest one, Pauline Ferrand-Prévot. I think she will be strong again also this weekend.
Tani?
I think it would be silly to not bet against Valley. So.
Okay. Marine?
I just don't want to set Valley, and I think Tani can be a good contender for this one.
I don't think so. One of your last wins, Tani, was here in Val di Sole, if I remember well, 2018, right?
Yeah, 2018, I think 2017 as
17,
well,
yeah.
but yeah, it just went pretty downhill after that.
Oh, hey. You're back. Finn?
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. Nothing controversial. I think Loic Bruni's on a bit of a roll right now. 2 of 3, so be hard to bet against him.
Yeah. Finish with this question. You were sitting in the hot seat on Sunday in Leogang. I was peering down from up top, and your focus at one point after that, his first intermediate, just went to that screen, biting your nails. I actually made a comment on the microphone. You kind of looked up and gave me the royal. Flipped the bird there. How is that rivalry working out? You guys did a really interesting piece on the Whoop UCI Mountain Bike World Series a few weeks ago where you sat down with him. Is that something that motivates you?
Yeah, definitely. I think that it wasn't a rivalry in the beginning, but now it's definitely become one because I think of the last 8 or 9 podiums I've been on, he's also been on the same podium, whether he's in front of me or behind me. And it's really frustrating when, I never really felt like I was going to win last weekend just because of the lack of practice and how I rode the forest. But for him to come down and put that kind of statement and that much time into us was pretty frustrating. And I think being on the same team with him, and I've been on the same team with him since I was 15 years old, is sort of, he has a little bit of like an older brother relationship with me where it's like anything you can do, I can do better, which is a little frustrating, but I think that it makes me work harder, makes me more driven, and it makes me want to be a better racer. And I think that he's been a good mentor in a way for me so that I see all the stuff that he does and I can apply it to where it works for me or whether it doesn't. And I think that the relationship between me and him is really good. And I think that it's a good thing we don't actually have to race against each other because if we did, I think there would be a lot more animosity between us. But for us, downhill being a time trial sport almost, it's hard to be mad when somebody's just better than you that day, and it's more of a self-inflection thing where you can look at yourself and be like, what can I do better? How can I perform better? And then try and figure those out. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. Slowly I'm learning, but that guy's hard to beat.
Phoebe, I'm going to ask you, Tanya, I'm going to ask you the same thing about Phoebe. You guys also sat down, and it was a super interesting interview to watch, because some of the things in there that came out, especially on your part, I did not know that that team was singularly almost built around you originally, and for you to accept her coming in was not an easy thing. But how is that relationship working out?
I mean, I think Finn put it perfectly. Like, it's the same with Phoebe. I will literally think that I can do anything better than Phoebe, and I think but she's got like the same drive as Finn has, I think, towards me and stuff. So, but I'm super open to helping her. Like, she is like my little sister, and I want to see her succeed. So, I would put a lot aside to help her do that.
Martina, you've had a bit of the same role when it comes to Corvi and company that have joined the team. Your team has grown in numbers over the last few years, become a reference with your performances and Luca's performances, but now you have some of especially the younger ladies that are doing very well. What is your role with them? Are you acting as a mentor?
Yeah, I mean, when I came into the team, there was Luca and Maxime, and they were a bit like the one to look at, and to learn some stuff from them. Yeah, and since I think 2022, Luca was really strong, but yeah, you can see he changed something in his way of preparing the race and all that stuff. And I mean, I think everybody have some good feelings with Luca, and he was a bit the captain. He's still the captain, but I think now for the women, I'm a bit more not the mentor, but I'm pretty sure they are looking at me and trying to see what I'm doing, and I think. Back in 2022, I was a bit in trouble. I broke my back, and so I had a pretty bad injury. Not that bad because was not broken in really bad places. But I mean, it doesn't need the surgery or some stuff like that. So it was okay. In 2 months, I was back racing. And I think they saw how I worked to be back, and I think from that point on they were looking a bit of my way of seeing the race.
Luca, for you, this team kind of grew up together. Was not really a veteran on the women's or the men's side. While Loana came in with certain success, you really built up. And Thomas might be the veteran, but I think his performances kind of went the way that yours and Loana went. How's that working out as a team kind of environment?
No, for me, it really felt like I come into a team where Loana is the captain back 2.5 years ago, and it changed a lot now. With Thomas, it's super nice because I think if he's one extreme, I'm the other, in terms of how like strict you are and everything, and I think we could really learn a lot from each other. That is really nice, but I think we are definitely different characters in the team, and it changed. It will change in the future, and we really developed together, which is great to see. But no rivalry.
Now you know how we feel when we try to speak German now.
Yeah, but no, it's very hard to be a rival from Thomas because he is not interested in things like that. He just wants to do his thing, and that is very nice for me. I can absolutely concentrate on myself. He concentrates on him, and where we can share information, share skills, we overlap them, and that's really good.
Thank you. Riley told us a little bit about the team in Iran. Marine, for you, a team that you're not very loud on social media, not very loud in the media. The environment, because you're working mainly with gentlemen, right, on your team. How does it feel to be the woman on a, en grande partie, il y a des hommes, majorly men?
Yeah, for sure, I'm the only woman in the squad team, but it's good to have some boys around me, especially this year. We have some new young guns who are really fast and really crazy, so it's funny to share a lot of things with them. They are always hungry for a win and ride fast, so we can share a lot of stuff together, and I think it's always interesting to have teammates where you can learn from each other.